So callbacks, repeat repairs, dissatisfied customers, it can oftentimes start with just one mistake, the initial diagnosis. And so here I want to show how to measure your accuracy by technician, by system type, by month, overall accuracy, and then also show you how to create this chart here, which is called a combo chart. So you have the columns, which is the number of calls, you have the line, which is your accuracy, and then down here sort of create like a pretty interesting little heat map that is dynamic and will change as you have a changing cell here. And so let's get started. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to go to the data set here, and I'll show you how I did it. And if you want this data set, there's a link to download it. If you can't find it, shoot me an email. Okay, so you have a bunch of data here. You can get this data from your service type and export, or you can recreate it with those exports. I mean, maybe you don't have something that looks just like this, but I know it's possible because I've done it. And so what you're going to have is you're going to have something along the lines of, what was your, sorry, I keep going back and forth. What was your initial diagnosis? And then what was your final diagnosis, right? And you could do it at the group level, right? Or the description level. And so what we need to do is we need to just see, does this equal this? Because if it does, or you can do, does this equal this? But it's better to do it more at the description level because it's more granular. And so does this equal this? If true, then the diagnosis was correct. If false, then it was not. And it's super easy to do that. And so I already did it over here, but I'll show you how to redo it. Equals, and then go way over here. Equals, the initial description equals the final description. And then it'll just spit out true or false. And that's what we have here. And then the only other thing we need is we need the month. And I'll show you how to do that. You get to use the text function, and the text function go all the way over here. If you press Control in the left arrow, it'll go all the way to the left. And then the service date. Here, the date of service, comma, and then quotations, and then 4 M's. And with 4 M's, you'll get the full name. You'll get the full name of the month. It's not JANFEB. It's the full month name. Okay, so we got those two. So I'm just going to delete these because that's what I already did here, to show you at the beginning of the video, to show you this. So what we need now is we need a list of the months, which we can do. Let me do this, call it starting point. Okay, so right here, just type in the word month, and then type in the word January underneath it, and then click and drag until you see December. And I'm just going to center everything here. Okay, so the next thing we need is we need the number of service calls, which is just going to be the count of the number of times January shows up, right? And so from there, we need to do the number of service calls. Then we need to find how many of those January is in that column, if the cell equals January. So we can do count if, and then in the data, make sure you highlight the table. You see how right now AP is highlighted? We don't want that. We want the table to be highlighted, right? So all the data is in a table. Make sure it's in a table. You can do that by pressing Control T. And so it's not the accuracy. It is the month. So right there. And you'll notice TBL for the table name, and then the column name month. And that's one of the big benefits of using a table, is it just makes the formulas a lot easier. We can just do the formula because we know the columns of the table. And so this time what we're going to do, we did the count if it's January and the accuracy column is true. So count if S, and then now you can just type in the name of the table. In this example, it's TBL for table. Open up your bracket, and then you can choose the order. You can do month first or the accuracy first. But I'll just do month just because we're right here. So the month, and then comma, and then it's right here, right? This is the month we want to look for this example. And then the next criteria range is going to be, again, the table, and then accuracy. You can press tab to select. And then here we want it to be true. And we have 131, right? Super straightforward. Once you understand the dynamics of how a table works. And then here we just need false, right? Because false means it wasn't accurate. And then we have that, right? And then I'll show you in the data set, right? So we have a false right here because, right, the description is the module failure and it was a condenser, right? A dirty coil. And so that's why it's false. So a false means it was misdiagnosed. Okay, so the next thing is we want the accuracy percentage. So how do we do this? So the way we do this is we do how many were accurate and then how many total were there. So the numerator is the trues and the denominator is you are going to be the falses, right? Or the falses, I don't know. And so all you have to do is equals this, and you can do divided by the sum of these two here. That's going to show the volume and then also the accuracy percentage. So the red line is on the secondary axis. And let's do that. So highlight the month and the service calls, drag down, and then press Control, and then you can highlight these two. Actually, what I'll do is I'll highlight just one because I want to show you a trick. So I'll highlight these three, go to Insert, Recommended Charts, and it's the first one there. If you don't see it for some reason, you will, but if you don't, you can go to Combo. And then down here, you need to set that secondary axis because right now you have 0.9% on the same axis as 145 service calls, right? And so it's going to be pretty much 0. So right here in the secondary axis, you can, a little box, you can click that. Accuracy percent by month. And then if you want, you can make it just a little bit smaller, just because it'll move everything up a little bit. See how it goes? See how all the other stuff goes up? Okay, the trick I wanted to show you is we want to benchmark, right? So we want to just have a little dotted line, and so all you have to do is copy this, click on the chart, and press Control V, and now we have that line. And if you click the line, or if you double click the line, then go to the little paint bucket, and then you can choose a color. I'll choose orange. Maybe make it a little bit smaller, and then the second one. And so now you can just sort of see the dotted line. And before, if you remember, we did an equal sign, and it's to make it dynamic. Maybe we want 90%, right? And so you can see how it goes up, or maybe we want 87%, whatever it is. And so, yeah, so instantly you can see that whenever you had high volume, your accuracy went down, right? And so in January, you had 145 service calls and 90% accuracy. In June, you had double that, a little less than double, and you had 82% accuracy. So it's just a quick way to see sort of what, like does an increase in volume, hurt your accuracy? And in this example, it does. Okay, so the final thing I want to show is if you want the percentages on the line, you just click on the line and then click data labels. If you want them on the column, what you could do is you could just click in the chart and do data labels, but it gets a little bit noisy, right? You can delete the 87, and you could keep it this way if you like it. I mean, you could always just click in and sort of move something a little bit, if it's in the way. But if you wanted to see, volume overlaid with that, then you could, overlaid with the percentages of the accuracy, then you could do that. Whatever works for you. The same concept. It's COUNTIF divided by COUNTIF, Alex, Rojas, and airflow and true on the accuracy, and then just divided by the total of Alex, Rojas, and airflow, right? And so I'll show you. The first thing we need to do is we need to get a unique list of technician name right here in column L. But again, don't click L, click the table, right? You can also just type that in. So like I'll show you. So here we're good. We have the unique list. But if I just wanted to type it, I could do equals unique and then table and then technician name. Right? It is the same thing. And one last thing I want to do is I want to sort this. I want to sort this alphabetically. So what I'll do is before unique, I'll type in the word sort. And then just press enter. You press it twice. The little error message was because I didn't have a bracket. And so now you have it alphabetized, if that's what you want. And then I'm going to press Control C, Control Shift V to remove the formula because I don't want the formula in there. Okay, so same thing. This time, we're going to go way over here, and we're going to do it on the final diagnosis group here. And then you can press enter, and then you have this here. And you can sort this alphabetically. You can, if you can use the sort function, or you can just sort it this way, or you could do it, by difficulty. Maybe you want refrigerant first, airflow second. I mean, different ways, but however you want it. That's how you get the unique value. And then now we need this across the top. And so if you have a lot like we do here, this is just wasting time. So you don't want to do that. What you can do is just highlight everything, copy it, Control C, and then right click and then press ST. ST. And what that's going to do is it's going to paste S special and then T transposed. And then you have that. Okay, so now let's think through this. How do we get essentially this percentage, right? In a single cell. If you remember, this was taking this divided by this, but we had to get accurate, which were the trues. We had to get the total number of service calls, right? And so we need to essentially get the accuracy percentage in a single cell. And it's not too complex of a formula. I'll walk you through it. So it's count if S. So step one, we need to count if, right? And we need to count if the row has Alex and airflow and true, right? So how many rows are there that have that? And we could type it out, need true on the accuracy, right? How many of the diagnoses were accurate? Is that C19? Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, so we're good there. So now we need to divide this by the total, the true and the false. And so how can we do that? And the way we do it is we just remove the true section, right? So we want to count how many airflows and Alex Rojas there are. And that's going to be the total, the true and the falses combined, right? And so now you get a percentage. And then again, Control-Shift-5 to make the percentage. Okay, so now we need to just drag this over and drag this down. But what you'll notice is that you get an error. And the reason is if you look, technician name becomes tech level, right? Everything is moving over. So even here, B20, which is the name of Alex, becomes C20, right? So we need to tell Excel, like, hey, as I drag this over, I don't want the technician name to change, but I do want airflow to become drain, water, electrical, heating, maintenance. And then as I go top to bottom, I want Alex to go to bin, but I don't want airflow to go to, 75.4%. And that's called absolute referencing. Right now, this is relative referencing, which means if you drag it over, everything's going to drag over. The formula is going to carry over as well. And so wherever you see the name, where we want to log the column. So we move it over, but the column doesn't change. So that's the blue cells, B20. So put the $ before the letter. That's locking the column. The letter is the column and the number is the row. So for the row, as we go across, we want it to change, but as we go up and down, we don't. And so we want to lock the row, which is locking the number. So put the $ before the number, but after the letter. A little bit confusing, but once you do it a couple times, you'll get the hang of it. Okay, so now we should be able to drag it over, right? Like, shouldn't be a problem. But it's like, nope, you can't do that. And the reason is because the table is still changing. And that's just the nature of tables. So the way around that is you copy it, and then you paste it here. And now you have sort of the answer that you're wanting. And so the final thing I want to show is, I guess, two things. So one, we want an overall here, and then let's do overall here. So this overall is going to take what was Alex's overall, diagnostic accuracy, or, just in the data set. How many times was he? How many trues were there? How many times was Alex Rojas true versus how many jobs he did, essentially. And now you have that percentage. Again, Control-Shift-5. Oh, I can't double click because there's a column in between. And then same thing here. So it's just the same thing, but different, right? And so the difference is now we want to take out the name and just do airflow. And so now where you see the blue, you can just delete that section. And then, yeah, of course it turns to red and make it a little bit confusing. We want to take out this cell rules and then less than and then 75. Click OK. Then you can see if you do like 80, then you'll see, it's working. It's just a little bit, because some of the overalls are a little bit higher, but you can see here it's working. And then I guess one last thing I want to show is here, if you wanted to put like a word like benchmark, just so your team sort of understands what's going on here, it's not going to work because this is being stored as text and these are numbers. So it's like you can't. It's like you can't. Excel doesn't say. How do you say like 85 a text value is less than or greater than a numerical value? Like, is the word benchmark greater than 75? It's like what? And so there I can show you how to do that. So type in the number 85, press Control 1, and then go to custom. And you'll see the percentage here. Just click here. And then you with your quotations, and then type in benchmark. You can do a colon, a space, and then a space. And then now this is accurate. And so, yeah, that's essentially how you can, calculate your diagnostic accuracy by month, by technician, and then also by your diagnosis group. And so, if you have any questions on this, I know it was sort of a long video. We're at 20 minutes and 17 seconds. Just shoot me an email. Ryan at databoards.io. And also, if you want this data set, it's there to download. Just click on the link. If you can't find it, shoot me an email. And then also, if you need some help getting your data to sort of be structured this way, also, you can shoot me an email or there's a link you can click on to hop on my calendar. But if not, that's all I got for this one, and I will see you in future videos.